Welcome to How to Emotionally Satisfy a Woman. Is it possible to emotionally satisfy a woman? The question men have been asking for centuries. Heterosexual men have been saying, can I satisfy my girlfriend, lover, or wife, or even my mother, my sister, a friend? Is it possible? And people have been asking this, men have been asking this question for thousands of years, and it's a resounding no. They can't emotionally satisfy women because women want a lot. They want a lot of stuff. What they want is they want you to love them. They want you to like them. They want you to admire them. They want you to desire them. They want you to be concerned about them. They want you to care about them. They want you to accept them for who they really are and see them for who they really are. They want you to back them up on all their dreams and plans and be there for them 24/7, 365, no questions. They want you to compromise the hell out of your situation. What do you mean you're going to go out to you're not going out to a ball game? What are you talking about? So that's the problem. The problem is when women say to their husbands and boyfriends, almost invariably, this is what happens when they say, don't you want to emotionally satisfy me, husband or boyfriend? And the boyfriend or husband almost invariably says, no. Or, what? What is that? What are you talking about?
Why would I want to do that?
Why would I ran to an old friend and he asked me if I wrote a new book, and I said, well, my most recent book is How to Emotionally Satisfy a Woman. And he said, what are some of the rules that you have? I told him there were rules, and I told him, number one rule is women are people. And he said, women are people? No. Women are not people. That's a good idea, but it's not a fact. So I've been fighting against the tide now for 18 months. I've been trying to get this through to people. Men are fighting me like cats and dogs. They don't want to look inside the. I didn't know it's so controversial. They don't want to look inside the book. I asked men to look inside the book, just flip through it because it's sparse and it's just like a pamphlet. Just flip through it and see about some of the rules and some of the 10 Commandments of love. They're like, no, like they're scared and they're petrified and they're horrified by the whole concept. That no one wants to look at one man after another. A dozen, 2 dozen men, none of them will open the book up. And then women, I had women who say they like the concept. The concept is good. It's great. You're going to please me. You're going to please my husband's going to please me, or my boyfriend's going to please me. They won't look inside the book. I had 2 close friends. I said, I got you this book. I gave you this book for free. I gave it to one of them for her birthday, and I said, what do you think of it? I didn't look inside it. What do you mean you didn't look inside it? I refuse to look inside it. You refuse to look inside it. So you have all these men refusing to look inside it, all these women refusing to look inside it, and then other women. I tried to get them on this podcast. I desperately tried to get these women on the podcast. I thought 6 women off the top of my head today in the car when I was talking to Paula that won't come on this show because it's too controversial a topic that they want to be pleased by their boyfriend or husband. It's too controversial, so they won't come on. So this is what I'm up against. I'm trying to change the world, and you can't change the world when no one will even open the damn book. They can't even glance through it because it used to be I write books and people are like, who cares about this subject matter, right? So I'm not gonna read this book or open this book up. But now they say I like the subject matter. The women do. I like the subject matter, and then they won't even open it up and look. It's incredible.
Well, the thing is, Greg is really surprised.
It's controversial.
That the ideas that he's had most of his life about, women being people, for instance, it's not just an idea, it's a fact. It's so difficult to comprehend to some men, not all men. I mean, this is a haven, the home of the future is a haven for women who want to be taken seriously. So I found this early, but, for the most part, there's a disconnect. You are, as a woman, you are you're like an accessory to the man. Like this, I am a man, and because I am a man, I'm a good enough man to have this particular woman. This is my trophy. I mean, it's like they say trophy wife. It's my trophy. And I want you all to look at her, but no, she's mine, and she cannot be possessed by anyone else. What does she think? What are her dreams or aspirations? What kinds of ideas does she have? These are immaterial. You know what? It's just a matter of being, and it's not, and maybe part of it is some men like smart women, but most men do not want smart women because they don't want them to be smarter than them.
I never thought it would be controversial. I just thought it would be slam dunk. I thought men would want to learn because then they could have better relationships. Because all these husbands and boyfriends have relationships. Obviously, that's what the whole point of being a husband or boyfriend is, right?
But the relationships are
And-
shallow. They're shallow. They're not friendships. They don't have the depth of connection because there's no.
But they don't want to learn, and so I'm caught in this trap where even the women who say it's. I've had women say to me that this is the only subject that matters, the most important subject that matters. I've had two of them I can think of right off the top of my head right now. I'm thinking about them. I can see them saying that to me, and neither of them will come on this show, Richard.
Yeah.
Even though they say this is the most important subject matter to mankind and in their lives, they both said this, and they won't come on this show.
Mm-hmm.
What are your feelings about what I just said?
It's hard for me to get my head around that. It's too controversial, they say.
Yeah, it's
What is this thing about avoiding controversial topics?
Well, it's because it's personal controversy. It's they feel like if they speak, they're shining a light on their husband or boyfriend.
The problems. You know,
They don't want to rock the boat.
Like-
They don't want to rock the boat.
like Jamie and Lisa came on, and they were not afraid to talk about
Right.
the issues that were going on in their relationship. They came on together, and they talked about what things in their relationship could be better. They
Yeah.
weren't afraid of it. But a lot of people, they feel if they don't accept status quo, the relationship's going to go away.
Huh.
And I mean, that might be a good thing. If the relationship is that poor, it might be better to find somebody. But maybe it's more work. It's more work to try. Men and women think differently. It's hard to relate. I mean, I find I'm better a lot of times with men than with women. But the thing is, I'm still a woman, and I still think like a woman. And so it's difficult for men and women to communicate if one party in that communication does not believe that the other party is an equal or human. They're just an object of desire or whatever.
Well, 3 couples were affected by my book, and they all said that the husband or boyfriend learned a lot from the book and it made their relationship better. But 2 of these couples wouldn't come on the show if I punched them in the face. I was like, well, come on the show and talk about the success story then. What? Come on video and talk about it's too much to be on video and talk, even with both people there. It's too much. Only Lisa and Janie Kabbalah came on together out of the 3 couples, and it just blows my mind. I feel like I'm so naive. I mean, would you have expected when I wrote this book, Richard, that it was a kind of thing that would repel people?
I wouldn't have predicted that.
But wouldn't you also think that most men had the common sense to understand that women and men are they're both human beings, right?
I would have thought so.
Yeah, I mean, well, knowing you for as long as I've known you, you've never been that other kind of man, But to think that most men view women as not as full human beings is I mean, that shows you why Trump is able to run for office.
Well, I see Trump saying recently that he's going to, if he's elected president, and I guess only if he's elected president. If he doesn't get the power, he's not going to do this. If he's elected president, he's going to make women safe and confident and happy and secure. Did you see this?
I didn't see that.
You saw that, right?
Yeah, he gave a speech.
He gave a speech and said, what's happening here, I need you to vote, women, because if you vote for me, I will make you strong, confident, secure, and happy. I will be your protector.
That I
will
heard.
I will be your, and it's
And that's really off-putting for
it's
women.
really off-putting and for many women.
Yeah.
I mean, it amazes me that you have millions, tens of millions of women who want to vote for Trump, despite his sexism, despite the fact he had to pay off money for sexual misconduct.
Yeah, but you know,
despite the fact that he says, "I will protect you.
a lot
I will
of
be your
a lot
protector."
of these women like the status quo. They like the fact that they're being taken care of. They don't want to go out into the world. They're afraid because they've never done it. You know,
Yeah, but not
they're raised to take care of a man. And these women are not totally fulfilled human beings. They are basically servants and, you know, child care for their husbands. But they see having to go out and earn a living as a big threat, is something that's, yeah, right. I agree, Mick, that some women need or want a protector, and these women. They want it because they are afraid to take responsibility for their own lives, and they're willing to give that over, even if those men. So it's almost like they're their fathers and not their husbands. You know, they're taking care of them like a parent. I mean, and it is. In a relationship, there is a little bit of that parent stuff. You know, you get some things from the relationship. I get some things from Greg that would be, you know, like support and things like that you would expect to get from a father.
Plus, you think I'm your father reincarnated.
Yeah, well, that's another story.
So in our relationship, reincarnation incest is okay.
Okay, did I tell you the story
So
about...
I was married to and had sex with her mother, and now I'm married to her.
Well, I don't really believe that, Richard, first of all. But
You
the
brought it up
thing
a lot of times, though.
But the thing is, this is what happened. I was at a poetry reading, and there's a picture in our family archives of my father looking over his shoulder at my sister Joan as she walked down the aisle when she was graduating. And he has this look on his face that's this look of pride, right? And it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful picture. And I never had that because my father died when I was 8. So I never had a male figure in my life. And so I would look at that picture longingly as a child and say, wow, this is good. So when I was doing this Greg hates poetry. You know, he doesn't, no bones about it. But I was doing that poetry thing, the 100 poets for Poetry Month that Celia and Joe used to do at the Unitarian Church on Elmwood. And so I was doing the poetry reading. Greg went. He waited outside until it was my turn to read. Then he came in, and I started reading. I had 2 poems, I think, to read. And he had that look on his face, that same look that my father had when he was watching my sister walk down the aisle to graduate. And I thought, this is exactly what I've always wanted, this look that somebody was proud of me. And so that's when I started the whole thing about my father died the year before he was born. So I say he's reincarnated Chester.
Well, so Richard, I'm losing my mojo on this topic after 18 months because I'm getting a lot of pushback, a lot of I don't want to be involved in this, even though it seems to me such a loving thing, how to emotionally satisfy a woman, and yet I'm getting pushback like crazy from males and females, and it's getting more and more from females now. It's shocking and stunning to me that I'm getting all this feedback that just, I thought it would be like everyone would embrace this. I was naive, and I thought they would embrace it and love it, and the men would want to learn, and the women would be happier and more satisfied with their mate. And instead, I'm getting just total.
They don't want to upset the apple cart.
Stop this!
Yeah.
Stop this madness! And I can't really. I never thought I'd have this thing that. And the weird thing is because all these women have said it's so great and such a great concept, so important. And then the 2 of them said it was the most important. So I had dozens of women say it's very important. I've had 2 women say it's the most important topic to them and to the world, and yet no one wants to be involved. One after another. I mean, I could name the names, and I won't name the names, of course, but it's one person after another who won't be involved, and I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, what am I doing? And people who have come on this show that's since we did 9 episodes of this, I asked them to come back on, and they say, I can't come. I've had several people say already, I can't come back on because what I said on the show, even though I thought it was, innocuous, maybe they thought it was innocuous, it upset my boyfriend or husband.
Ooh.
So that's where we're at. I'm at this impasse where I'm trying to change people, but you can't even, I thought it would be like, I would try to change people, and they would be. At first, I thought I was working. I thought, okay, everything's working. I changed the lives of 3 couples, and then things have gotten worse. The more known it's been in my circle that I did this book and this podcast, the fact the podcast is exacerbated because it's a podcast. The video, the talking of people actually talking, instead of me the book is me writing, obviously, and this is everyone speaking, and it's really going badly.
So,
I mean, do you have any advice, Richard, on this, or do you think maybe I should give it up? Give up this goal, like you like this show, correct? You like this podcast.
I do.
You like the way it's thoughtful, and
It's an attempt to change the world.
Attempt to change in a positive vein. So in your opinion, do you have any advice, or do you think I should stop trying to? Because it's going backwards on me now with the way people are reacting.
Well, I like the fact that you're keeping track of how many people are reluctant to participate and how many are encouraging you. Yes, I will help you with this. I will come on the show. So if you reach a point where the overwhelming majority of people is telling you, good idea, but not for me.
That's
Which is what they seem to be saying.
Yeah, I'm getting a huge amount of that now. At the beginning, I was getting, oh, great idea, great idea, great idea.
Until
And
they
then-
have to put themselves on the line. Yeah.
Yeah, people are running from you in droves, like what? Me talk about it on camera? I talk about my relationships or about loving and caring and being kind? No, I can't do that. It's really a warped situation. I thought I was starting out. I started out and I thought, wow, this is really going to be golden. This is golden. And now everyone's turned on me, and people who are into it are like, well, I'm not into it anymore.
Have you asked Lou and Julie to be on the show?
No, I didn't ask Lou and Julie, but I mean, Lou likes the book. Julie never gave me an opinion on it, but Lou likes it. He's one of the rare men who like it.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, do you think I should stop trying? The two of you. I mean, do you think I should stop trying to change the world, Richard? Should I just give up because it's going backwards now? I'm getting.
Well, I think if you give up and stop trying to change the world will keep sliding the way it's been sliding.
Including in the male chauvinist pig area.
Could I tell you the parable of the hummingbird?
No.
The forest was on fire, and all the animals were huddled together as the fire started getting closer and closer and closer, except for a hummingbird who was flying down to the river, filling its little beak, flying back and dumping it on the fire. And one of the animals said to the hummingbird, "What do you think you're doing?" And the hummingbird said, "I'm doing my part."
Wow. He was.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're doing. You're doing your part.
I'm doing my part, but now I'm just getting people rebelling against me, saying that they can't be involved in it, and we can't. I thought the podcast would be better because it wasn't my opinion only; it was everyone's opinion who came on the podcast. But now the people don't want to come on the podcast, and they say, here's what people say. Also, this is what women say. Yeah, I want to come on. When are you going to do it? This has happened with 5-6 women so far.
Yeah.
I think 6 women. since the spring. Okay, here's a date. No, I can't do that one. Here's a date. No, I can't do that one. Here's a date. No, I can't do that one. Here's a date. No, I can't do that one. But let me know when you're doing
Well-
it, because and it's not like the Greg Sterling show where it's, they come on eventually. They just don't come on. And we have the guys saying things like, it sounds like if you follow these rules, you're a slave.
Ooh.
I mean, a slave. I mean, by being loving and caring, a slave. I'm getting more out of this anti book and podcast to maybe do a second book about that.
Yeah.
It seems like I might have to go to. And this is occurring to me just as I'm speaking right now, that maybe I should skip the podcast. Unfortunately, I don't want to. Like, the podcast has whittled its way down to. Paula supports me. You like this podcast, and you like what I'm trying to do. And everybody
Well,
else.
I mean, but Beth has been.
Oh, Beth Kennedy
yeah,
likes it a
Beth
lot.
Kennedy is.
She likes it a lot.
But this was a last minute thing, too.
No, I don't mean
Yeah.
today. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not because we're all three of us. I mean, of course, you support me, and Richard likes it. But I'm just saying, it's not because this was on a spur of the moment we did today.
I
But-
could do
but-
some outreach. Gloria and her boyfriend have actually been going through a self-help book and working
I know, but what I'm saying is,
Wow.
together.
I'm not naming any names. I never named any names during this whole program, right? I'm not going
Right.
to name any names, so I can say whatever I want, because I'm just not even telling the specifics
Right,
about the person.
of course.
There are people that think there are women that think this is very important, that are going through relationship issues, and they won't come on. And we're not talking about just 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking about 10 women I can think of who are going through relationship issues and wish their boyfriend or husband was better, and they tell me that, and they tell Paula that, and none of them will come on the show to save their life. And it's just like, I want to work things out, try to help work things out with people, and I can't do it when they won't come on
The
because they're
thing-
scared.
Right. The thing is, the more
People are scared.
if you communicate, if there's something wrong with the relationship, and I'm not talking about. I mean, I'm talking about things like, okay, you're not taking me seriously, or you don't respect what I do for a living. You're acting like what I do is less than what you do, and that makes me feel bad. If you don't say that out loud, the person doesn't know. But a lot of times, if you do say it out loud, the person feels threatened. Like, what do you mean? I don't do that. I don't think low of what you do. But they won't.
I've had
And
conversations.
and sometimes it is you. Sometimes it is you who feels that inside that maybe what you're doing isn't. But I think the idea that you take a woman seriously and you listen to what she's saying and not try to not try to be dismissive. And I see Dudley. This is an age of fear now, and I do understand that women and men, especially, they feel that they can't approach women or they can't. But that's a societal issue that's changing, and change is hard whenever it happens.
Well, I've had.
But in relationships, you should feel comfortable telling the person, when you say that to me, it makes me feel bad. I know you don't mean to make me feel bad, but it makes me feel like you don't think I'm important in this relationship. And you should be able to say it, but they don't want to because they're afraid the relationship's going to end.
Well, I've had several couples who has said, "Do you want to emotionally satisfy me?" I mean, with the couples, both of them, and they say to the man, "Do you want to emotionally satisfy me?" And the guy says no. And I've had one guy said, "Not only do I not want to emotionally satisfy you, even though we're married and we're in love, right? I don't want to emotionally satisfy you. You haven't deserved yet to be emotionally satisfied."
Yeah.
I had 2 women that happened with. One was, she told me her husband said, "You haven't earned the right to be emotionally satisfied," and one said it right in front of her. And this is what I'm dealing with. I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to continue doing the. I like the podcast. I like the concept of it. I like everything about it. I mean, it's mellow, but I like the execution and the concept. and they're trying to change the world a little bit in a good manner. But I'm fighting against this.
How about if I emotionally satisfy you by trying to get some guests?
Yeah, well, that would be nice. But good luck because
You put it in his language.
well, good luck because I'm just the male thing is just so sickened by the whole idea, and the woman thing is so sickened by the idea of having to discuss it on video because anything they say, and this has been explicit with all these people. Well, if I come on a video podcast or I come on again, I'm going to say more things if I come on again that my husband or boyfriend are not going to like because anything I say that's not 100% positive is a criticism, and it's a criticism on video. And then they say, I'm losing my train of thought. The criticism, oh yeah, if they come out for the first time, then it's just going to open a barrel of worms, and so they don't want to do it. And this is happening with a lot of women saying, well, I'll do it sometime, not now. I'll do it sometime, not now. This has been going on since the spring, and now it's the fall.
Well,
and I get the hint now. I got the hint this week when I was not this week, in August when we did the last show. I was asking people, do you want to come on? I was asking people for the sixth time, and they were all like, maybe some other. It sounds good. Maybe sometime.
Well, Richard,
And it's just it's making me think that it's not the way to go. And I thought it was going to be the way to go. I
Well-
thought this was going to be a great new direction for me doing podcasts at your house. But
how about this? How about Richard? Can you think of any one thing or a couple things that you've gotten out of this show since Greg started doing it?
Yeah.
like what?
Can you?
Well, I think I often think of something that happened during the Middle Ages.
Okay.
There was a big discussion about we live in a world of specifics, but people like to talk about generalizations. And so people were reflecting, what exactly is a generalization? You know, we never really experience a generalization. We never experience a forest. We experience trees that are all
Right.
grouped together, you know. And and I think about that. I think, wow, this is kind of a throwback to the Middle Ages because Greg is like saying, what can we say about all women? I remember something Jill said to you. She said, relationships are like snowflakes. No two are the same. I can understand that, but I can also understand that if you take that position, no two are the same, does it mean nothing we can do about it?
I don't think it means.
Yeah, because it's such an individual thing that you can't do anything
But-
about it.
I think there's some generalizations you can make, like, and for the most part. I mean, let's say you're a gold digger and you marry some guy just for his money.
Yeah.
You don't give a shit if he respects you. All you want is his money because you're sleeping with somebody else on the side. I mean, that's a relationship, but it's not the relationships we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, so but women want you to listen to women and men. It's not listen to what they're saying, respond to it in a way that it makes sense, that you've been listening, and that you're curious and that you're concerned, and if you have a goal, encourage that person to accomplish that goal. I mean, it doesn't mean you're pushing them to do it, but it means that say, hey, I saw that you were writing the other day. Do you want to read me what you wrote? I mean, simple things like that. I mean, not everybody's creative. So like, oh man, that thing you cooked the other day, that was really delicious. I mean, just to acknowledge that what they're doing is meaningful. That's pretty general. I can't imagine a woman who's in a real relationship, a real marriage of the minds, so to speak, who wouldn't want that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that this is opening my eyes. I was blind and I now can see because I thought things were one way in relationships between men and women that were in heterosexual romantic relationships, and they're turning out to be the opposite of what I thought. It's really blowing my mind, and I'm thinking, how can I'm shouting it out here in the forest, but no one wants to hear it. And I thought it was so innocuous, like just treat her well, treat her lovingly. Treat her well, treat her lovingly. I don't think so, buddy. I've had a lot of problems with these broads, with these chicks, with these babes, with these women.
Yeah, I
I've
don't like her to know I care about her, because then she's going to leave me.
Then she's going to have the upper hand, and
Yeah, upper hand. That's right.
that goes back to that's like being a slave. If I do things she wants and treat her lovingly and kindly, that's like being a slave. That's like being a slave.
Well,
I mean, that's amazing to me.
okay, so if you consider being a slave, doing some nice things, it's like the lyric from the Rolling Stone lyric. I'm not waiting on a lady. I'm waiting on a friend. You
No,
know,
but that's about waiting on a friend though who's male.
I know, but it's no.
She's
is it?
reinterpreting it.
Is it?
No, I'm saying the video shows it. They
Oh.
did the video on purpose. Jagger and Richards. You can.
Well,
if I-
maybe he just did that so the other guys wouldn't get pissed.
No, Jagger. Jagger wrote the lyric to say that I'm not waiting on my date for the night. I'm waiting to hang out with my buddy Keith Richards. So he sings a song. I'm not waiting
Because
on a
it
lady.
sounds like a romantic song.
It's not. The video shows he's waiting for his buddy to go hang out tonight. It's about the friendship with Keith Richards. And then
Oh.
Keith shows up at the end, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's go out and get drunk."
Well, I
a
totally
video.
misunderstood that song all these years.
Just like Jump, you misunderstood that one.
Yeah.
too.
Maxwell
Might
Jump.
as well Jump. About suicide, Maxwell Jump. So I guess I'm like crying out in the wilderness here, and wondering if I'm ever going to make a difference at all, because I made a little bit of a difference already, but now I'm making this difference where it's like repelling people, and the longer I do the podcast, and the longer the book has been out, the more people are turning on me. At first it was openness from women, and now some of the same women are getting closed up about it, and saying things like this to me. I've heard this. Oh, the podcast you're doing, you're still doing that, the emotionally satisfying thing. You're still doing that. Yeah, we've only done 9 episodes. Yeah, you're still doing that. Is that what you're doing now on video? Went over to Richard's house. You're doing that, your emotionally satisfied thing. I mean, is that going anywhere? I mean, stuff like that. This is a real conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I can name all these names for you in the car if you want later, Paul.
No, you've did. On
I
the way
did.
over
Okay.
here.
I named some of them on the way over here.
Yeah.
And I have couples where the woman really wants to do it. She says, "I'm in. I'm going to do this show. I'm going to do it all the time. I'm going to be on." I think of 3 women who already said, "Not only am I going to do this show, but I'm going to do it all the time. Every episode, whenever you're doing it, I'm there." And all 3 of those women, after discussing it with their husbands, said they're not going to do any shows. They're not going to come on at all. Sorry, no can do. My husband is a little bit too fragile, and his ego can't take the idea that I would go on video. And it's not like the Greg Story Show where we're just yelling about nothing and making dumb jokes. And this is a thought out thing. Greg, this is a great topic. I'm going to come on, and I'm going to come on often. I'm going to come on maybe every show. I really want to be a part of it. And I'm like, and they're like, "I love what you're doing." There's 3 different women, and they all then said to me, "No, I can't do any. My husband can't take it." I had the one husband. I said, "I'm really glad your wife is coming on. Your wife's a wonderful woman. I'm glad she's coming on." And he said, "Yeah, that's fantastic, Greg. I really think you're doing a good thing here, having my wife come on." He did that several different times. Not the finger, but the reaction was like, "Are you what? I mean, what? No." She's like, not only did he not want to please her, she wants to emotionally be satisfied by coming on the show about being emotionally satisfied. He's saying don't. He's saying don't come on.
Yeah.
He's telling her explicitly, don't go on there because I can't handle it. And I'm
So you
my-
got to give Jamie and Lisa credit for coming on.
I
And
do. I already
exposing-
credited them.
and exposing themselves to, talking about the relationship on camera. That was
Well, we had-
That was.
we had-
I thought there were going to be a lot of couples who would want to do this.
And I
that's
thought
what
when I had three,
thought.
and when I had three couples, including Lisa and Jamie, and then two other couples which remain nameless, they all said, "Oh, this is helping our marriage. This book is helping our marriage." That's great. And then the two guys did this kind of thank you to me. Yeah, thanks, Greg. That's it. Really has. It really has helped. Like she said, it's really helped. She sat me down with the book, and we went through it, and it really helped a lot. And I'm doing better now. And Jamie and Lisa were the same way, but they came on.
Yeah, they came on.
And they came on, and they sat here and they talked about it.
Right, and
the other
they
two
were
couples
open.
were like,
Well, Lisa is in the, she's a therapist. So
But still. I
but
mean, give her credit for she did that, and they came on together.
he came on. That was the big thing.
But
that he was open to coming on.
But the other two men were saying, on one hand, Richard, they were saying, "Thank you for helping my marriage," and then on the other hand, they said, "But I do not want to come on video and talk about how you helped my marriage."
Because they'd have
Can
to
you imagine
admit
that,
they
Richard? I
had
helped their
been
marriage,
doing something wrong.
helped their marriage, and they said, "Thank you for helping my marriage," but they don't want to actually talk about the fact that their marriage was helped by me or by the concept. Can you?
Well, because they'd have to admit their mistakes, and it's hard for people to do that.
So basically, what's coming down to is men don't want to admit that they're doing anything wrong. They're not doing anything wrong in relationships. This is how it was with my parents. This is how it is in society. This is how it is overall. And I'm doing what am I doing wrong? You're saying I'm doing something wrong? You're telling me I'm doing something wrong? What about the woman? That's what I'm getting. And,
Yeah.
And the one guy said to me, "So you wrote this book, huh, Greg? You got this podcast, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "What are you, an expert?" I said, "Yeah, compared to you, I am." I said, "Who's having problems in their relationship and who's not?" And he's like, grumble, mumble, grumble, because he knows that I'm having a great relationship with Paula, and he knows his relationship, by his own admission, is not great with his wife.
Yeah, I mean,
This is the kind of thing. This is a lot of stuff. I've gone through a lot of talks with people for 18 months, a lot, as you can tell from what I'm saying today. Right? This is a lot of information, and I told Paula I got a lot of things to say to you and Richard tonight, and I'm saying them because it's been festering at me, and ever since August when we did the last show, and then we took Paula's surgery we didn't come over for, but when we come over 6 weeks later. I'm at my wit's end because all these things have happened that I've just discussed with you and told you about. And you can see why I would think maybe this is the wrong path to go on. Is that correct, Richard?
I can see why you would think that.
Do you feel like I should? So is your feeling that I should keep trying because otherwise I'm just giving
like
up
the
and I'm doing my
hummingbird.
part?
Yeah, I think you should keep being the hummingbird.
I should keep being the hummingbird.
Yeah.
Just keep trying to
Dipping
do
your
my,
little beak of water on the fire.
I'll try to solicit some guests,
yeah, because I see all
some
these.
fresh meat.
I see all these. I see all these lonely men, right? And what are these lonely men? I can think of three lonely men. Just as I keep thinking like in terms of numbers. I can think of three lonely men off the top of my head who I talked to in the last year, and they've all said this, verbatim, not verbatim, but they've all said the same thing, same kind of thing. Boy, I really would like to have a relationship with a woman. I really feel lonely. I really like to have a romantic relationship with a woman, not just sexual, but sexual and romantic, right? Like I want a relationship where it's not. I not just want to fuck a few times. I want to have
a partner.
but also have
Yeah.
regular sex schedule and regular romantic schedule in a relationship. I say, okay, great. Well, you can if you read my book and you use Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, you should be set. And they're like, read the book. Yeah, that's what we're talking about right here, my book and the podcast. Oh, I don't want to read the book.
It's too much work.
It's too much work. All three of these guys who are all lonely. They're all lonely. They're all thinking, I have no girlfriend. I have no wife. I wanted, and they say this. I'm desperate. I desperately want a girlfriend or a wife. A girlfriend
Yeah.
leading into a wife. I desperately want to have a relationship. Oh, you're desperate, huh? Well, then, wouldn't you want to check out my book with the 10 Commandments of Love and the 69 Rules of How to Emotionally Satisfy a Woman, and read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People? No, that's too much work. That's too much. I have to do that. That sounds like a job. Well, it's work to have a relationship. You don't just magically have a relationship. I tell them, and they're like, "But I have this dream, though." This was the three guys all said after this.
Yeah.
I have this dream that someday I'll meet the right woman, and she'll be exactly what I wanted, and she won't put much pressure on me. She won't get in my hair. She'll be there when I want her to be there for me, and she'll be everything I want her to be, and we don't even have to live together. I say, so you want to have a solid relationship where she never wants to live with you? Yes. And this is from three guys.
Yeah, I mean,
I had one guy.
not immediately. Obviously, you don't immediately move in with somebody. That would be foolish. But it builds up over time. You know, you
I
have.
have one guy that I'm about to say something about. This one guy that is just without saying his name, he would know. I didn't say it just now because he would know that I was talking about him on video. Of course, very likely he would never find out, right? Because no one's watching this video that we're doing right now. Probably no one will watch it. I mean, how anybody? Dudley and Mick are watching.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Dudley
and Mick are watching
for
it,
being our audience.
But I'm just saying, it's very likely he'll never find out that I said this comment about him without mentioning his name, right? But of course, it's the one time when it happens that someone finds out. I used to think I'd say things about Mark Freeland on the show, and no one would ever find out. And then all of a sudden, we're going over the fucking peace muffin to his house. I would have this great thing to say. It summarizes a lot of the stuff I'm talking about this one close friend of mine, whose name I can't say. And if I brought up the thing and said it, and it seems so innocuous to me, I think he would find, if he found out about it, he would be very angry. Do you know what I'm talking about at all? I'll tell you in the car later.
Yeah,
But you found my concept, though,
yeah,
right?
of course.
He would be very angry with me, even though I didn't say his name, because it's so specific. His relationship is so specific that what happened in it, that he can't face. In fact, me saying he can't face it's almost like giving away what I'm talking about. I can't go into any detail.
It's a good thing you have so many friends.
I have so many fucking male and female friends. I can't. I'm in the point where I'm doing this podcast and I can't say something without using the person's name, without really worrying that he would find out and say, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" I told you that in confidence. He told me and Paula in confidence. He thinks he's in confidence, and then I say it on the podcast, even though I don't even use his name. But it's so specific.
Yeah.
How his relationship is going.
Well, there's just a lot of people who don't want to compromise, and you got to compromise. There's no.
If you want to have a relationship, you have to compromise. If you want to have a great relationship, you have to work at it. That's what it comes down to. Those two things. You have to. If you don't want to have a relationship, you're fine, and you can just have some sex and some friendship or whatever, mingling the two. But if you want a relationship, you got to compromise, and if you want a good one, you have to work at it. That's what this all comes down to. And these guys, number one, who say they want to have a relationship, don't, because I have to compromise, and then I have to work at it.
But I don't think they understand.
It's not realistic to think you can have the relationship. If you just want to have sex sometimes or be friends with a woman, then you're golden. Women. If you're friends with women, for instance, there's a major factor in my life and I've seen it. If you're friends with women and you're heterosexual and they're heterosexual, and if they have a boyfriend or a husband, or they don't have a boyfriend or a husband, they don't demand anything from you. They don't demand you compromise. They don't demand that you work at it.
But you still have to be willing to listen and
Oh,
willing
yeah,
to take
of
them
course.
seriously.
Yes,
and,
of course, but not compromise.
Right,
and not work at it. And I told one of these guys, and this I'll say because it's not nothing where you'll get mad at me. I said, listen, what you do is if you want a relationship and you're desperate for a relationship, what you do is, and this is what you start doing when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, whenever you start, have as many female platonic friends as possible. I wrote a song about that when I was a teenager. Let's get platonic. No need to screw things up. We'll never break up. True love to the end, because it's platonic. And I think that's why I have so many long-term female friends, platonic friends, because we never did anything sexual, and none of them broke up with me because there was no breakup necessary. And it dovetails into, if you're desperate, if you're a lonely guy, get as many female friends as you can, because one of them could blossom into a relationship.
But that, you see, that
Am I
assumes
right?
that assumes that man is not going to be looking at every female friend he has as a sex object. That assumes that, and that's
the key.
That's the breaking point.
The key is the thing that was people that are friends, not sex objects.
Right, not to be looking at them like, eventually I'm going to get into your pants, so I'm going to pretend I'm listening to you and pretend I'm interested in what you're saying.
Which is, if you pretend,
Yeah.
you don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
You got it. Sincerity is key. If you're sincere and you listen and you care, and people can generally tell. Women can generally tell if you're sincere or not. Eventually, over time, sincerity is going to win out.
So the thing is, I'll just give an example. When Greg and I were friends and my stepfather died, I was not expecting that he would come to the wake because, first of all, he doesn't drive and he lived all the way on the west side. And he took the bus.
I also took the bus to your daughter's wedding party.
Right. So
in the pouring rain.
He took the bus and he came over, and I was very surprised to see him, and he was very sympathetic. And
I like John. We went to the baseball game with him in Toronto.
I know, and so, but that meant a lot to me because, it wasn't like you thought, oh God, I got to go to this wake because if I don't, then because we weren't having sex. Then she won't have sex with me. It wasn't like that at all.
That's what I'm saying about platonic friendships.
It was just a heartfelt sharing of self, and that was important. That one little gesture.
Sincere platonic friendships are the key to any man who wants a relationship. And so many men in my life, over the years, as you know, I've known a lot of male friends for over the last 60 years, and and a lot of them don't care about a relationship, and they don't have a relationship. They're not looking for a relationship. Like, you're not looking for a relationship with a woman right now,
Correct.
Richard. So you're in a good spot because you have lots of female friends, but you don't want a relationship, so you don't have. You're fine. But so many men do say, you must have heard this over the years in your house, I want a relationship with a woman. I'm lonely. I want a relationship with a woman. You've heard that a bunch of times, right, from different men.
Recently, a friend of mine said, I just want what every other man already has. Isn't that interesting?
And what is that?
That's what I thought. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right, yeah, and because that is very presumptuous.
Yeah.
Because what he's doing is that he's only seeing the men who are with women. He's not seeing the
and
men
that give the appearance of
Right.
like fulfillment, etc.
Yeah, and you know what? I wrote
It's made up from his mind.
I wrote a poem.
Exactly.
I wrote when I was single. I wrote this poem about I was driving behind this car,
Yeah.
and in the front of me was a couple kids in the back seat, and a husband. I assumed a husband and wife in the front seat. And what I thought was that they were having a good time and laughing. The car was kind of shaking, and I had not been in a relationship for a while, and I was kind of looking at that like a wistfully, like thinking, "Oh, isn't that nice? Look what they have." Until I realized that the reason the car was shaking is because they were screaming at each other and the children.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Yeah, you were thinking one
wow, I'm glad that's not me. But that's the perception of what you're looking at something and you're seeing something, but you don't know what goes on. And a lot of people put on a really good show for for the world, especially on Facebook. I mean, if you only looked at Facebook, you'd think everybody was in a happy couple.
Well, I think it's a fact that women in relationships with men want to improve the man. They want to change the man and improve the man. And guys generally fight that. Like,
Well, it's
what-
not so much improve. It's more just get what you need in the relationship. Because if you're saying improve, it's like, okay, I don't want you to watch sports anymore. Now that's an unrealistic
That's
request.
not what I'm talking about.
But yeah, I know. But I'm saying this is how I'm interpreting it when you're saying it.
Right, but I'm saying the
For me,
sports
I'm
thing-
saying if I have something important to say to you, I would like you to turn the game off for a couple minutes.
Mm.
You know, that's more. It's not really improving. It's just more paying attention.
It's improving, but I mean, it's
Well,
not.
we just have different.
I'm not really. Well, yeah, it's semantics.
Yeah.
Men are just if they could just realize that the men who want relationships, Richard, not the men who don't. That's fine if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like you're in a state of your life right now where you don't care about having a new relationship with a girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
But men who do want a new relationship with a girlfriend, we know some of these people. Obviously, you do, and I know, and Paula does. There's a bunch of them that we know that we're not saying their names, and they need to be friends with females they like first to grow into a relationship. They need to have platonic friendships, like let's say 3 platonic friendships, and maybe one of them will spark something later
Right.
on.
Well, like Dudley.
You build.
Dudley just said up here, it says many men don't want friendships with women. They only want them as sexual props. And I mean, I think that is true. I think
Dudley
I've been
Mask
in,
is right about that.
I think I've been in friendships with men who just assumed that eventually I was going to have sex with them. Do you know what I mean? But they started to bore me because I wasn't connecting with them as a human being. And I knew
Well,
something
here's
was
what
off.
here's what connecting with a human being. Here's what goes on. In our opinion, I think Paul agrees with this. She can tell me she doesn't agree with this. I think we're both on the same page on this. Men who want relationships with women, want a girlfriend or a wife, if they treated her like their friend, it'd be different than the way they're treating them like a sex object or the other. If they treated them correctly, then they would just be connecting on they act different when it's a woman they want to have sex with. If they want to have sex with, if they're attracted to them, they act different. If they don't want to have sex with them, okay, there's nothing. They treat them more like a friend or a person. And if they want to have sex with them, they treat
Yeah.
them differently, and they also in another angle they condescend. This has happened several times to Paul and myself. Me and a male friend are talking, and then she comes in the room, and the guy changed his attitude. He's like condescending, like, "Hey, dear, how are you?"
Yeah,
This is not a sex thing. This is
there's
the
a
other
couple.
angle.
There's a couple of his male friends that they'll
Three.
be talking about something very animated, and I'll come out because I want to join the conversation, and the other person's tone will change automatically because I'm female.
Because she's female, so there's
And
there's
there's
that
no-
angle.
And I dated somebody that I stopped dating because they couldn't treat me like, they couldn't talk to me the same way I heard them talk to other people, and I couldn't tolerate that.
And sometimes you have situations like I had with me and Gwen 25 years ago, where because I was treating her like another one of my friends, she got really, we really went crazy on each other right here in this room. We were screaming at each other, and she was crying and everything because I was treating her just like I would treat Terry Klein. And she
wanted to be
and she
treated like a
wasn't-
special
and
angel
she
because she
wasn't-
was used to that.
She wasn't used to it, and so I was treating her like I was treating Terry, and Terry got pissed off like crazy at me, and I treated Gwen like I treated Terry, like another person in the band, not a woman in the band, a person in the band, both people. So I treated them badly, and I was obnoxious, and I was like the lead front man person, and Terry was pissed, and we had to have a meeting upstairs in your second floor where you helped mediate between me and Terry.
Mediation room.
The mediation room, and we brought him back into the band, and Gwen, she went, she was screaming and yelling about, and then she quit the TV show
Because she was used to being treated a certain way by men, and she didn't. She wasn't even thinking about the fact that she was being made into a
Well, see, I was treating her the same way.
sexual,
Well, I was treating her the same
Yeah.
way I treated Terry, and that's what led to our breakup for a short period before we started doing Ross and Gwen. There was that, but after that, everything, we got it out of our system, and we had a new level of friendship after I treated her like I treated all the other people, like, which was me being a jerk and a curmudgeon. And I told her that today on the phone. I said, well, the thing is about the Greg Story show in the 90s with the two of us, I was an asshole curmudgeon. She goes, well, she was trying to be nice. She said, well, you were definitely a curmudgeon. I didn't try that. But, it's obvious I was an asshole curmudgeon in the way I did the show. And
it got all
and
that
it was,
angst out of your
got
system.
angst out of my system and a lot of pain. And it was a curmudgeon asshole thing. But I was being a curmudgeon asshole to her in the band situation the same way I was to Terry, where I told Terry, stop being a pussy, and then hung up on him. I said, stop being a pussy. I hung up on him, and the next time he saw me, he yelled at me for 20 minutes. That was the worst songwriter, the worst person, the worst. And Weezer was downstairs in Montevideo beneath, and he thought I thought it was like a performance piece Terry was doing because he was yelling, Greg, you're this, you're horrible, you're the worst. And I never spoke through the whole time thing. And I did the same thing with Terry that I did the same thing with Gwen I did with Terry. And then after that, we built a friendship up more solid at the break. From 2001 to 2024, 23 years, including today. I talked to her on the phone, and she was like, she's trying to be nice, like, no, you're not an asshole, curmudgeon, just a curmudgeon. and the reason I'm friends with Gwen for a quarter century is because once we did that, we kind of gravitated into the thing. It's like, I'm not treating you like a special angel, like Tom would say about her. We call her jokingly a special angel to this day. Like last year when on her birthday, I called her up and said, "Hello, special angel, happy birthday." And I texted her one time and said, "Special angel," But if you treat people like people, and not like, you might get. In my case, because I was being a curmudgeon asshole with a lot of angst and pain inside and lashing out at the world and being immature, but I got. Did the same thing with Terry, but it was different because it was Gwen, and she was used to getting better treatment from men in situations and Terry was used to people getting pissed off at him because he's Terry Klein.
And I realized after watching some of these shows, I realized that one of the reasons Greg didn't like when I co-hosted is because he felt he had to behave himself.
Yeah, she realized, and I didn't consciously think that at the time. But I'm sure it was true.
I don't think he did.
But I'm sure it was true.
Yeah, he was like. Because when everybody else was a co-host, he would just go crazy at him, but he didn't do that to me.
Yeah, the idea that there is an other in the room and you want to put on your best behavior.
Yeah.
Remember the Beatles' Let It Be?
Yeah.
Well, when they were reflecting on it, they said, it's funny, when Billy Preston joined us, we stopped arguing amongst ourselves because we were like, oh, hello, Billy. Oh, yes, let's play the song now. And they said, it's probably because we didn't want him to think badly of us.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't want, unconsciously, I didn't, that's the word, unconscious.
Well, we were best friends back then.
So I didn't want to not emotionally satisfy her.
Piss me off.
But the thing is, every other woman, I just treated like, and I had a lot of male co-hosts for a while too. I did that period where I did like Todd and et cetera,
Yeah.
Remember that? I did that for like two or 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, a short while. But
Todd was good.
Ross
Yeah.
did and Todd, et cetera. But the woman thing is, I treated everyone like a curmudgeon asshole, all the guests who were not celebrities, and all the co-hosts who were mostly female. And that's just the way it was, and it was just it was like Howard Stern crossed with a psychotic maniac, with less talent, and now I'm just wondering whether I'm at a crossroads here, whether I should go on with this podcast and you two are saying we should try. I should try a little bit longer.
I'll try to be a little bit more supportive in the guest category.
No, that's okay. You know, it's not. It's not
We've
up to
only
you.
got 18 seconds
not up to
left.
you,
No,
but-
I know it's
but
not
you-
up to me, but I'll reach out to some of my friends who I think might be interested.
So the question is, with 10 seconds left, should I stay or should I go?
Ooh.
I think stay.